Hey there, this is Quan from ZTAG, and in this video, I'm going to go over how to exactly install the ZTAG Drone Laser Tag system onto your drone. And so when you get the system from us, you're going to get the circuit board, you're going to get your power wires, and a balance lead. And essentially all you have to do is connect this to your drone and it's ready to go. But there will be some additional mounting, very much dependent on how you want to install it into your system. But before we get into the install, I just wanted to briefly give you an overview of how the system works. So this board is going to be front mounted in front of your drone like this, so that the lights right here are going to end up in your camera feed. You want it to be not too far, not too close, just enough so that it's on the bottom of your video and it doesn't affect your flight vision. But you want to see all the LEDs here because that indicates your health status. And so being that this system is front mounted, there's a couple of things you'll notice. We have infrared LEDs out, shooting this way, and then we have infrared receivers receiving signal from this way. And because this board is mounted in front of your drone, the obvious question is, how durable is it? You know, it's just kind of a eventuality that when you're playing laser tag with drones, that someone's going to crash, and this board, because it's so far extended, it's going to be the first thing hitting the ground. So we have some additional mounts that will be providing the STL file so that you can either download and print yourself, or you can go to Brain 3D and there will be a link where you can buy this already printed directly from them. And so I first wanted to talk a little bit about the mounting system and exactly what it was designed to do. Okay, so the features of this mount is really, we wanted to design this so that it fully protects your investment. You know, your circuit board will fit snugly right in here so that it is protected in all of its edges, and the necessary components are exposed so you can get access to them or see them. So for example, the buttons you can easily press, and then you can see the lights on both sides. And then the other thing is, we wanted to make this mount rather universal so that you have adjustability, so that once you install this, you can change the height of the sensor relative to your camera, depending on what kind of camera tilt you have, so that it matches exactly your view. You know, one thing to note is if you have 3x4 versus 16:9, you're going to get different amounts of vertical cropping. 3x4 is going to give you the most amount of vertical. And so in that case, because you're seeing more vertical, you may want to mount this board a little bit lower relative to your camera. So for example, like this, it's going to sit a little bit lower like this. And if you have 16:9, you may want to adjust this further up. The other thing is we've optimized the distance on this mount, because this mount ends up on the bottom of your drone, so that it gives you just enough space where this thing is not so far extended where things makes it break very easily, but also it's not so in your view that you start losing focus and you're not able to see all the indicators clearly. And then just a little bit more detail about the mount design. We tried to make this so that it is compatible with the most standard drones out there that can operate a high definition digital system. So we have it slotted down here to allow for anywhere between 18 millimeters screw spacing apart, M3 screws, up to 32 millimeters apart. And we designed it in a way where you don't actually have to remove the screw in order to put this in there. Now, the screw that you have need to at least be able to back out 4 millimeters without falling off the drone. So you may have to get longer screws for that. But once you do get longer screws to install and uninstall this only takes a few seconds without you having to remove the screw, having it drop into the ground, and then you're looking for it. Okay, and then there's another piece to this. This is a minor detail, but it's actually rather important once you get to more advanced levels of gameplay. This is called the sensor cowling. So we got two infrared sensors here, left and right, and they're actually differentiated. So if you get hit on the right side, your right side lights will blink. If you get hit on the left side, your left side lights will blink. Now, what often happens is a signal coming from any direction might actually hit these sensors from all sorts of different angles. And so for ZTAG, we ideally want the drone tagging action to happen when a drone is able to actually come and hit you from behind or underneath. So here, I got another drone to demonstrate. It's broken from my previous adventures, but right now what's happening is if you don't have the sensor cowling and a drone flips on top of you, that signal may actually bounce and hit your sensor and register a hit. And if that happens, it's okay, but what ends up often happening is you end up having a drone battle that goes to the moon because both drones are just trying to get on top of each other and just to get the higher ground, then everybody just flies higher and higher. Now, if we were able to block the sensor from receiving infrared signal from up top by adding this cowling onto it, then you have to hit the sensor from either directly behind or at a lower angle. And also by having the cowling, it'll give you better differentiation between the left sensor and the right sensor. So those are a couple of little features here. Feel free to download that STL file from us directly, or if you don't want to, or if you don't have a 3D printer, just get it from Brain 3D. These guys are great. So let's get into the actual installation piece of this. So you're going to get these two wires, and I'm going to assume you've already also got the mount, either self-printed or you bought it from Brain 3D. Okay, so you'll strip the wires. Okay, and then we're gonna go tin them. And I wanted to give credit and shout out to Joshua Bardwell for showing me to use this pretty cool putty just to hold things down very quick and easily. Okay, so iron's hot. There we go. Now I'm gonna do the other end. Not the best job, especially since I know I'm being recorded. Anyways, so let's get this board out here just so we can solder it to here. So the only two wires you need to get access to is the V-in right here, which will take between 2S and 6S voltages, and ground. Okay, all right, so that's good enough right here. Now the other piece, and this really depends on your preference. If you want to make this ZTAG Drone Laser Tag game a permanent part of your setup, then you simply will solder this directly to the power going right into your flight controller, right? So straight out of your 12 gauge wire. But many people, because this may be a temporary thing, I recommend putting the balance lead male pin connector on there, and that allows you to install and uninstall this in a matter of a few seconds or a minute. Okay, so what you're gonna get in the package, I don't have it here, but you're gonna get a 6S male lead. Right here, I have a 4S just to match my battery. But the benefit of a 6S, although this one I'm showing you is a 5S, I have it cut and slotted like this so that it gives you compatibility to different batteries. And so with the 6S lead, you can also take snips right here and just cut it out just to have enough slots, which allows you to adapt this to your lowest S battery to your highest S battery. So the 6S connector, provided that you cut out the little notches, will be compatible with whatever battery's balance lead you have. Okay, so I'm gonna go through this little process right here, just so we can end up with something like this. Okay. And one thing I wanted to note, just to be extra careful, you want to have a battery by your side just so you can make absolutely sure which one is positive and which one is negative, okay? But of course, disconnect that battery while you're soldering. Actually, for me to solder, I'm right-handed, I'm gonna put it this way. Okay, so I know this pin right here is gonna be negative, and I can essentially pick this third one, fourth one, or fifth one to solder the power lead to. But really, I'm gonna pick the lowest one which my batteries will share. So for example, since my lowest battery S count is gonna be 4S, then I can just put it onto this lead right here. And if you have a 6S battery, but you might also have 4S batteries, then I would just put it onto here. The reason why I don't want to put it onto the lowest 2S battery is over time, if you have this board always connected, then it's going to essentially draw the first two cells a little bit more than the other cells on your battery. So I recommend putting this on the highest count battery cell that you have as a common denominator between your different batteries. Okay, so now I'm gonna install, or I'm gonna tin this lead a little bit. Okay, and then this lead. And you gotta be a little careful here because this is plastic. If you heat up the iron a little bit too long on here, it will melt the plastic, and then your pin in here is going to be a little bit loose. So just be careful to not overheat that pin. Okay, and then you just tap it on here just for about half a second, and it should just hold. Okay. Okay, there we go. So now you have it like this. You may be wondering, what is this goop that I have here? This is stuff that I absolutely love, and I give it a nickname, essentially drone duct tape, but I use Instamorph. This is these plastic pellets, essentially low temperature injection mold pellets, or high temperature hot glue, whatever you want to call it. But I heat this up and it becomes moldable plastic. It still has to be pretty significant heat for it to deform. No kind of heat that this is going to get access to is going to melt it. So I take a reflow heat gun like this. I mean, you could also take a lighter to it, but once you heat it up, it becomes translucent and moldable. Then oftentimes I use this instead of 3D printing to get something quick and easy. And this is just me showing off, my dirty drone here. It's dirty because I fly it a lot, but I use it. I use this Instamorph stuff for guards, and when it gets scuffed up, all you got to do is take a lighter to it, heat it, and it becomes soft, and you can reshape it. So it's wonderful stuff. It looks really, really ugly, but it works. Okay, so I'm gonna turn on my heater. And you'll see at first it's kind of wiggle around a little bit. once it heats up, it starts getting rather sticky. Okay, so that's pretty much good now because it's clear. I'm gonna turn that part off. Okay, so now you see this is moldable, and I can immediately just wrap this around here. And this is how I protect and strain relief the leads. Actually, I probably don't need too much more. This should be enough. And then, you know, you're gonna get about maybe 30 seconds to a minute of working time with this before it starts heating up or cooling down. And eventually it'll become opaque like this one, and this is very hard and you won't be able to break it. So there's that lead, and then you can test it. Here, I'm gonna plug it in. There you go, the board's turned on. Okay. So now to install this board, what you would have to do is just put it to this sleeve right here, and the sleeve protects it from all angles. And then we're gonna take the M4 screws. We designed this to take M4 screws all around just so it's consistent and you don't have to go searching for different types of screws. You may have to have screws of different lengths to make it optimal. In this case, mine's a little bit longer than I need, but this is what I have laying around. Okay, and then the next step is the sensor cowling. Now, one thing I forgot to note is with the sensor cowling, in order to have a fair game, you want to have all the players decide, are you going to use it or not? Because if some people use it and some people aren't, then it's unfair because it's going to be easier to tag some people and harder to tag others. Okay, and so this cowling sits between the shell and the mount. Okay, so this part you kind of have to hold two things together with one hand, or multiple things together with one hand. And as I try to put this screw here, let's see. Okay. I'm gonna just loosely put this on and then put the other one on. Oh, whoops. I didn't actually engage that at the bottom here. Okay, so I need to. Okay, there we go. Now it's in. Okay, and I'll back this out a little bit just so you can still adjust the up and down, and do that last when you have it finally installed onto your drone. Okay, there is this little groove right here, and that's to allow you to have the wire fit through here so it's not dangling around and keep things neat. Okay, so this is my drone. Again, excuse the beat upness of it. It's the only one that I have that's working right now because I crashed the other one in a demonstration. But anyways, here, I'll back this out 4 millimeters. So make sure you have a long enough screw that it can actually back out 4 millimeters without falling out. Okay. And this is what makes it super quick and adjustable if you have a screw like this. Because right here, this mount is 4 millimeters thick. Okay, so as you can see, we have a hole right here and a slot. And so for this, what you want to do is slip it through this hole, okay, and then route it through that slot, and then this one will pop through this hole and then go right into that slot. Okay, so now you can center this and tighten it. Oh, you know what? One thing I forgot was to route the wire from underneath. Okay, so let's try that again. Okay, route the wire from underneath here. Okay, that keeps it neat. And then put this in. Okay, so now you want to test the camera. I won't do it in this video, but at this point you can connect your batteries, okay, and turn on your goggles and adjust this up and down until you get the view of all the 5 LEDs in your vision without this riding up too high and blocking your path. Okay, so once I get the optimal height, then I'll tighten that screw down. Okay, so this is mounted, and once you configure this, you'll never have to touch this again, provided it's coming back onto the same drone. And then just uninstalling it is just loosening up these two screws, and then this will slide right out. Okay, so now you can actually connect this to the balance lead, but one thing I do recommend is still zip tying this to your side post, just so, especially for my quad here, this prop might get kind of close and chop the wire, so I'll just use one zip tie here. I'm going to bend it so it comes out. Okay, and we'll snip that off. Okay, so that's pretty much good to go. And then I'll loosen this battery a little bit so I can get access to the balance port and connect it. Then you turn this on. Your quad is now ready to play ZTAG. So when you're done with it, just disconnect your battery just like you normally would, and then just make sure now you have an extra lead you have to disconnect, but you just unplug this piece right here, and that's done. And when you're totally finished with the game, or you want to try freestyling or racing without this in the way, you just loosen these two. But before I loosen that, I do want to mention one thing here. You'll notice, because this thing is kind of resting towards the bottom, it's actually the bottommost thing that you're going to see on your drone. This ends up also being the landing gear on most drones, unless you have a super tall landing gear setup or skids here. So just know that while this is designed to be durable, it's not indestructible. So when you're landing, try to be gentle. Gentle landing bumps and stuff, this should handle, but it's definitely not designed for like a full head-on impact. So just take it easy, right? And so let me show you how easy it is to pop this thing off. Now, of course, if you are removing it, you're gonna have to take out that zip tie, and be careful not to cut the cable. But now, in the opposite order, you pop this out here, and you pop it out here. Here you go. This is your setup. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward, and thank you for watching. We really hope the community is going to be able to adopt more laser tag into their daily flying and interacting, because we're super excited to bring this to market, because now there's a way to have actual interaction with other pilots. While there's racing, there's freestyle, I would say arguably those are still pretty solo activities, because everybody's just watching their own feed and they're not really reacting against each other. Whereas now with drone laser tag, you can get a lot more tactical, and you can go out and find a lot of the same locations you've flown, but treat it in a completely different way, because now you can play hide and go seek, right? So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this, and please subscribe, go to our website, drones.ztag.com, and place your order. All right, thanks so much. See ya.